Greetings and welcome to the elementary school curriculum training by Common Sense Media on the digital literacy and citizenship curriculum. My name is Kelly Mendoza. I manage the professional development program at Common Sense. So welcome. So glad you're here today. And grab a cup of coffee or grab a cup of tea. Join us for the next hour to explore how to get started with the curriculum for elementary. So I'll just cover briefly an introduction to digital media in kids' lives and provide an overview of digital citizenship today. We'll dive into the curriculum, looking at the website, how to navigate parts of the website, looking at the curriculum topics that are covered, the scope and sequence, walking through a lesson, talking about suggested implementation, and then of course highlighting the parent resources that are so well interwoven into the curriculum. Finally, at the end of this video, be sure to keep an eye out for information on taking a survey that will allow you to access a certificate of training. So I want to start with this quote by the American Association of School Librarians, just so that we sort of keep the big picture in mind when thinking about digital citizenship, which is a 21st century skill. In this increasingly global world of information, students must be taught to seek diverse perspectives, gather and use information ethically, and use social tools responsibly and safely. And I think I like this quote because it keeps the big picture in mind and sort of the ideal vision of how we want our classrooms and our schools to be. And it's kind of hard to keep in mind sometimes with the day-to-day situations that can happen and the sort of micro level. So this is really what I think we're all looking for students. And Common Sense Media, if you haven't heard of us, we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of kids and families by providing trustworthy information, the education, and the independent voice that they need to thrive in a world of media and technology. And we really envision a world in which kids know how to make safe, responsible, and respectful choices and to harness the potential of technology for learning. You may recognize us also. We do ratings and reviews on media titles, movies, games, apps, books, you name it, we review it for kids. And then also learning ratings. Check that out if you haven't seen that. I'll be talking about education today, but we also do advocacy work on behalf of children and media issues, and then investigation on children, media, and technology. Let's start with a quiz question. How many hours per week do you think the average American child between 8 through 18 spend with media and technology? Just come up with the answer in your head. The right answer is 53 hours a week. And this is a lot, but broken down by day, it's 7.5 hours a day of media use outside of school, not including texting or talking on the cell phone, that kids are using. It's a huge part of their lives, and so we really want to help them harness the power of technology to enhance their lives and make it better. Let's just talk about a couple statistics for lower and upper elementary kids and how they're using media and technology. We did a report called 0 to 8, looking at younger children and media, and we found that 90% of 5 to 8-year-olds have used a computer, spending about an average of 25 minutes per day on the computer. And so we know that as younger and younger ages, kids are getting online, they're getting on the computer, or they may be getting online by a smartphone or an iPad, as the next statistic shows that 52% of these children have used mobile media. And that's even easier actually because of the touch function. It's easier for younger kids to use those mobile media. And then finally, we see that even young kids are starting to media multitask, which means that they're using more than one medium at the same time. And we have about 23% of 5 to 8-year-olds media multitask. In upper elementary, we're seeing a little more independent use of media, and particularly with cell phones. As we know, parents report the average age that they get their child his or her first cell phone is about 9 or 10 years old. And that's a lot of power to put in a child's hands without really helping them use it responsibly. But so that's beginning. And then we also know um, that kids are primarily using digital media and the internet for entertainment. They're mainly playing games, they're joining virtual worlds like you may have heard of Club Penguin with penguin avatars, or Millsberry.com or Neopets. They're participating in games and virtual worlds. However, we're seeing increasingly younger kids participate in social networking. Specifically, it could be Facebook or other social networks. And of this statistic, Consumer Reports found that 20 million minors used Facebook in the past year of that year, but 5 million of those were under 10 years old. And that's very young to be participating in a social network that's designed for adults. And not to mention that you're supposed to be 13 to sign up for Facebook. So we're seeing social networking happen younger and younger. And again, that's bringing up issues with digital citizenship, and that's why it's so important to start teaching this in elementary at very young ages. Common Sense Media really emphasizes a whole community approach to this topic by bringing together students, teachers, administrators, and parents in creating a positive school climate around technology and cultivating the kind of behaviors and communication that we would like to see using digital media. So we created our digital literacy and citizenship curriculum, and that's what I'll be diving into right now. A digital citizen is a student who knows how to harness the power of technology safely, respectfully, and responsibly. And some of the behaviors and skills below are part of digital citizenship, such as avoiding risk, internet safety type education, thinking before you self reveal, protecting your privacy online, cultivating a positive digital footprint, communicating respectfully, and building community online, searching effectively and determining website credibility, and then also respecting creative credit, which means respecting copyright, fair use, and providing proper attribution, but also as a creator, seeking the kind of attribution that you would like with your work. So, just some features about the curriculum. We take a very balanced tone to the topic, which means that we don't use a fear-based approach, and we actually don't think it works very well for students. So we're really careful about taking a balanced tone by celebrating the potential, but also recognizing the potential perils of digital media. The curriculum is flexible. We do provide a scope and sequence, which I'll cover, but it's flexible in that you can design your own program. You can cherry pick lessons and stick them into your curriculum where they fit best. And then also it's free. So this is great for a lot of you, right? It's philanthropic funded by the MacArthur Foundation, the Hewlett, and the Sherwood Foundations. So we're really happy to be able to provide this to you at no cost. We developed the curriculum in partnership with the Good Play Project at the Harvard Graduate School of Education and with Howard Gardner's guidance. Howard Gardner is a well-renowned developmental psychologist. So we developed a lot of the lessons with them and did some piloting of the lessons together. But originally, the curriculum was based on the Good Plays Project research on youth and digital ethics. And the Good Play Project found these different ethical fault lines that kids were falling into, and that's where we based some of the topics of the curriculum. The curriculum is student-centered and involves a lot of situations and scenarios that make sense to students and that are real for them. In elementary school, we provide role play scenarios where kids are taking the perspectives of other people and thinking about how other people might feel in different situations or how they might react or act. It involves critical thinking about their behavior and their decision making online, Powerful videos. I'll be showing you some videos, and they're really wonderful. Students love them. We have videos for students and for parents, and professional development videos as well. And then also it's low tech with a chance to tech it up, with a chance for high tech. So the curriculum itself, it can be used in a classroom with no technology at all, just pen and paper. But there are opportunities in the lessons to tech it up, to use an online creation tool, or to use the computer, or to do something online if you have those tools available. We also take this interesting rings of responsibility framework, which means that we encourage students to think about their rings of responsibility in that they're responsible not only for themselves in the center, but also friends and family, and then the larger online community. And so this is a part of our lessons that we're having kids not only think about how their behaviors impact themselves, but these other rings of their responsibility. Here's our standards alignment, Common Core. I'm sure it's a big deal for a lot of you. So the Common Core standards are right on the first page of the lesson plan, which you'll see. And we're also aligned to ISTE's NETS and the AASL standards. There are 8 categories to the curriculum, and I'd like to cover them here before we jump into the website and look at everything. Here they are all laid out with the icons, and you can get familiar with the icons because we use them a lot around our lessons and in the search function for the lessons, which you'll see. So internet safety is about exploring the internet and staying safe at the same time. So it's really about safe online behavior, particularly in relation to communication with others, and encouraging students to avoid risky online talk, but also create positive and appropriate connections. Basic internet safety skills. Privacy and security is when students learn strategies for managing their online information and keeping it secure from risks like identity theft and phishing. So it's really protecting their private information and learning how to recognize scams and schemes. Digital footprint and reputation is more of the issue about privacy as it relates to things that we share about ourselves. So we encourage students to self-reflect before they self-reveal, to learn about how what they share online can impact themselves, but also it can impact others. Self-image and identity is designed to help students think about how they present themselves and their identity online and offline, and how these can be similar or different. Anonymity and being able to present yourself in different ways online isn't necessarily a negative thing. It's only negative if students are using it to harm or deceive other people. And so it's developmentally normal for kids to sort of try on different hats online. But these lessons help kids think about that and sort of think behind the scenes about that. In the Relationships and Communication unit, students reflect on how they can use intrapersonal and interpersonal skills to build and strengthen positive online communication and communities. Here they're really thinking about digital ethics and the rings of responsibility that we talked about earlier in their online interactions and how it affects not only themselves, but their friends and family and the larger online community. In the cyberbullying topic, students learn what to do if they're involved in a cyberbullying situation. They explore the roles different people play and how individual actions can impact their friends and broader communities. Students are encouraged to take the role of upstander to build positive, supportive online communities. In the information literacy topic, students learn about how to identify, find, evaluate, and use information effectively. They learn about searching strategies, evaluation techniques of websites and online credibility, and trustworthiness of websites. And then they also learn some attribution skills on how to give proper credit. In the creative and copyright topic, students reflect on the copy-paste culture that they live in and reflect on their responsibilities and rights as creators, where they're using other people's information respectfully and responsibly. So I'm going to introduce to you our scope and sequence, but I want to give a sort of high-level view of the scope and sequence. From K to 12, we have 65 lessons differentiated by grade band. In elementary school, we have 5 lessons per unit, which is a unit can refer to a grade level. So we would have, since we have 3 grade levels in K to 2, there's 15 lessons, and 3 grade levels in 3 to 5 is another 15 lessons, for a total of 30 lessons in elementary school. And the units are cross-curricular, and which means that they address a lot of the different topics that we discussed in one unit, and they spiral out, which means that from the first to the final unit in any given grade level, students are spiraling and building upon the foundational skills that they've learned upon in the earlier units. So let's take a look at the curriculum. Okay, so the first thing you want to do on our website is go to commonsensemedia.org, and you want to register as an educator. And the reason why is so that you can access the downloads of all of our curricular content. And for us, since we're a nonprofit and we need to show funders how many people are using our curriculum, we do ask that you register in order to do that. So the registration process will walk you through. So you actually start by saying you're an adult. You choose a screen name and password, etc., and then you'll be taken down a path asking about your school, or if you're a homeschooler, you can check that, and then registration is done in a few clicks. So I'm going to click on the site that I've actually already signed into, and then we'll navigate from there. So once you're logged in, all of our resources are under the Educators tab. And for the URL, you can actually find this under commonsensemedia.org/educators. That's the educator homepage. So as you can see, there's a menu of options. The first lists all the programs. There's the curriculum. We have the parent education program here, professional development. We have a blog, and then curriculum toolkits. But what we're focusing on today is the curriculum. So we're going to click into that and get started. So I'm actually going to click into curriculum by grade. There's a couple areas where you can get into it, but I'm going to start there. And this shows you for K to 2 all of the units in the lessons. It's just broken down for you that way. So you can see that there's 5 lessons per unit, so 1 per grade level for K to 2. And then let me go back to 3 to 5. The same with 3 to 5. We have 1, 2, 3 units with 5 lessons per unit. And so why don't we go ahead and dive into what you'll be using the most of is the scope and sequence. And this is where all the lessons live. So our scope and sequence really lays out the entire curriculum for you in a way where you can hopefully easily complete the lessons in a cross-curricular way that builds on the knowledge from one unit to the next. And I introduced these categories to you in the slideshow, but you can see that they're all listed here. The internet safety, privacy and security, etc. And so one thing that I want to point out before we dive into the lessons is that when you click on one of these, all of the lessons related to that topic will pop out at you. So you can see I clicked on internet safety. I'll do it again. And all of the lessons that have to do with internet safety are popping out at me. And one thing to notice is we have a lesson on internet safety in Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3. And that would relate to, again, grade K. Unit 1 is grade K. Unit 2 is grade 1, and Unit 3 is grade 2. The same with 3 to 5. We have Unit 1 here under grades 3 to 5 would be for grade 3. Unit 2 would be for grade 4, and Unit 3 would be for grade 5. Now again, this is just a recommended scope and sequence, but we have a lot of schools and districts designing their own scope and sequence, which is perfectly fine too. So again, any of these categories, I click on them and all of the lessons related to that topic will pop up. I just clicked on digital footprint. Let me do it again. And notice the digital footprint, follow the digital trail lesson popped up. And again. So that at least lets you search for lesson by topic if you'd like those to stand out. So the first thing we're going to look at actually is a K-2 lesson called Going Places Safely. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click into the lesson. So let me first walk you through the lesson, and then we're going to look at the lesson video and talk about how this can be used in a lower elementary classroom. So the lesson, Going Places Safely, we have our lesson plan either on HTML, which is our website, which means that you can actually look at the lesson plan and the teaching plans on our website. So I have the introduction step, teach 1, teach 2, teach 3, etc. However, you also can download all of the materials in one click. And so if you notice here, I just pressed download lesson, and what you will get in the lesson download is the lesson plan, which is here. So I'm going to scroll through that. We'll scroll through the lesson plan. That's for you. We also have the student handout, which is right here. Here's the student handout. And then this is assessment. So if you're interested in using the assessment tools, we provided them to you. This assessment sheet is for students. And then the second one is the teacher version of the lesson assessment. That way you can just have students fill out a few questions to make sure that they understand the lesson objectives and understood the goals of the lesson. So I'm going to look at the HTML version for now and just point out. So right here we have the essential question, which we have at the top of each lesson, and it really leads you through what is the main question that we're having students ask in this lesson. And in this case, it's how do I go places safely on the computer? So we have a basic description of the lesson right here. Then we see the learning overview and objectives. And there's usually 3 to 4 objectives that relate very specifically to what students are learning and also what they're doing in the lesson activities. So in this case, students are able to discover that the internet can be used to visit faraway places and learn new things. They compare about how staying safe online is similar, how to stay safe in the real world, and they also explain rules for traveling safely on the internet. And they do this by taking a virtual field trip. So I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. The materials and preparation is laid out for you here. So this would list any sort of materials you need to prepare or have ready ahead of time, including the student handouts that you should have copied or available for the students, and then also any sort of websites that are involved for you to preview, and also videos that are involved. Oftentimes there's videos involved with our lessons as well. Then if you scroll down, each lesson is 45 minutes estimated time. And the teaching plans really walk you through the entire lesson, hopefully in a simple and easy to follow way. So we have an introduction here. It explains what to do. The introduction is oftentimes an attention getter or asking some questions to pique students' interest about the topic. Teach 1, and there you see all the steps are laid out for you. Teach 2, sometimes there's a teach 3, and then finally there's a closing, which is what we call the wrap up. The closing is usually about 5 minutes, but it's a way to not only wrap up the lesson, but assess student understanding of the topic that they just learned. Note that on that closing page, we also have an extension activity, which could be It could be a 15 to 30-minute activity or more, depending on how far you want to go with it, on additional work the students could do on the topic. Usually it involves a creation component. So there's that. And then we also have an at-home activity, which really involves parents or family members in extending learning about the issue that the student has learned about. So sometimes there's a handout associated with that. Oftentimes it's just a little mini homework assignment that kids can take home and really encourage family involvement in the issue. I also want to note a few other things on the lesson page. We have listed here related resources, so other lessons in the unit. You can go back to the main scope and sequence this way. You can go back by grade level. If there are videos associated with the lesson, they will be on the right-hand side here. So you can watch or download the video, and we'll watch that in a second. The family resources will be here, and usually family resources is a tip sheet for parents. So let me click into that. So this is a tip sheet on talking safely online. That's what kids are learning about. And this is something that can be distributed to parents in kids' backpacks. You can email it to them. You can put it on your school newsletter or your classroom website, that kind of thing. And it's really, again, we want the whole community approach, so it encourages parent engagement. We have key vocabulary words that you will be covering in the lesson. They're called out for you here, but they're in the lesson plan too. And then finally, we have our alignment here. So we have our Common Core standard alignment listed, and then also ISTE's NETS standards as well. So that just gives you a sense of where all the materials are in a lesson. So I actually want to watch the video for this lesson because this is a great sort of introductory lesson for lower elementary in thinking about how the internet, how we should go places safely on the internet, but also we relate the internet to the real world. And I think this is sort of one of the connections that younger kids need to make, is that the internet is a place that's made up of real people saying real things and interacting, but they're just online. And so they're making the connection that the internet is just like your community, but it's online, it's virtual. And so let me show you how the video helps them make those connections.
My name is Jeremiah. Hi, and I am 7 years old. I love playing on my mom's computer, but I always get permission first. Mom, can I go on the computer?
Sure, sweetie.
I love my mom's computer because I can go on the internet. The internet is kind of like your neighborhood. You can visit cool places. You can talk to family and friends. And you can learn lots of new things. Like yesterday, I visited a zoo that's near my house. I saw a baby zebra. I took her picture and changed the color of her stripes. Then added a hat and added it to my collection of wacky animals. Awesome! Then later, I went to a place far, far away. I visited Kenya. That's a country in Africa. Lots of zebras live there. Wow, that's a lot of zebras. Sometimes on the internet, I talk to people I know. Like my grandma, who lives in another state. Hi, Grandma. She's making me cookies that she'll send me for my birthday. Yummy, I wish the internet had Smell-O-Rama. I can talk to different people on the internet, like my cousin. But I only talk to people I know. But what I like most on the internet is that I get to play fun games. draw and create new things, and share it with my friends. Cool! Sometimes I visit websites where I learn new things, but I always stick to websites that are just right for me. Wow, dinosaurs! The internet is a super fun place. But just like when you cross the street in your neighborhood, you also have to be careful when you go online. Here are 3 rules to remember. Rule number 1, always ask your parents first. Rule number 2, only talk to people you know. Rule number 3, stick to places that are just right for you. Wow, that was fun.
Dinner time.
I'm logging off now. I can't wait to get back on again to see where I can visit next. Bye-bye.
Okay. So one thing to think about is how might your students react to that video? Do you think it would connect with them? Do you think they could relate to the little boy? And do you think they could, what do you think they might be learning from this video? And one thing that we'd like them to learn is that we're hoping that they learn is the safety rules, and that going on the internet is just like going out into your community, and you have to use some of the same safety rules. And so I can walk through here. I've actually showed that video a little bit early, but you would start the lesson with a warm-up about what do you need to do to stay safe when you visit new places around that question. Then you define some key vocabulary terms, the internet and online. You know, kids may have heard these terms but maybe not have defined it, so that will be new to them. You show them the video that I just showed you. Ask some questions about the video. You know, what did Jeremiah like about it? What kind of things can he do? What are the 3 rules that he should follow when he goes online? And then you introduce the term website, which is here, and you actually go on a virtual field trip. So here are some websites to New York's Museum of Modern Art or the San Diego Zoo, really great sites for kids. But I'm sure that you have a website that you'd like kids to go to for a virtual field trip, or you know, you can put this in conjunction with something that you're teaching in class or something that you're addressing at school and have them visit that website. So what you would do is you could partner students up, you can have them work on their own laptops, whatever you have available, and encourage them to visit that website and discuss what they saw and learned on their internet field trip. So they're just, again, making that real-world connection with the internet. Then finally, you distribute the My Favorite Place student handout, and that handout actually is in the lesson download, which I'll go to. And in the handout, students are drawing a picture on the screen below of their favorite place online, the place that they just visited of the internet field trip. So I went to where, I saw what, and they're drawing like a little picture postcard here. And then right here are the safety rule reminders for them. So let me actually go back. And we've had teachers hand those out to students. They color them in, or you know, sometimes you can have students use a PDF drawing tool and draw something into the student handout. So in a nutshell, that's Going Places Safely. It's a great introductory lesson for little kids about going online and the connections to the online world and the real world and following those safety rules. Another lesson that I'd like to show you is called Sending Email. And again, this is a lower elementary level lesson. But in the lesson, students are starting to learn relationships and communication skills. So in this lesson, students explore how they use email to communicate with real people within their schools, families, and communities. And so again, we're continuing on the topic of teaching kids that the internet is a real place made up of real people, just like in their community. So sending email, again, all of the things we already went through are here. You can download all the lesson materials right here. And in this lesson, students they first discuss the ways, and I'm looking at the learning overview here. They discuss the ways they can send messages to other people. They observe an email exchange between teachers on paper, and that's the student handout. And then they participate in an imaginative role play that helps them envision how messages are transmitted between people over the internet. So rather than walk you through this lesson, I actually want to show you what it looks like in a classroom. So we're going to watch a video of a teacher teaching the lesson. One of the things that we are increasingly doing at Common Sense with our lessons is trying to include videos of teachers teaching the lessons and sort of showcasing what it looks like. And in this case, for this lesson, we do have one of those videos, and it's right here. And so we're going to go ahead and watch. This is a teacher at a public school teaching a class of first graders, I believe. So let's watch.
So good morning.
Good morning, Rossi.
So today
My name is Laura Rossi. I teach K-8 technology at Tre Vista ECE 8. I've taught digital literacy and citizenship curriculum to kindergarten, first grade, and fifth grade.
Today we're going to do the lesson sending email.
I taught the sending email lesson to a first grade ESL class. This class is made up of all students who are second language learners. In this lesson, sending email, students understand who has sent the email, who's received the email, and how the emails come into the inbox.
The first word we want to talk about is the word message. Does anybody know what a message is?
Yeah.
What's a message?
Like when we send things to the phone.
Some of the challenges faced in teaching this lesson was building up the academic language for these students so that they were able to understand what was going on. One of the ways I adapted the lesson for my ESL students was to only focus on one academic word at a time. That way they didn't get everything confused and they could practice and understand that one word and then moved on to the next academic word. In the lesson today, I started with the word send. And I used the word got for received until they understood what send was, and then we moved on to receive and replaced that word got with received.
So now we're going to use a big word for got. We're going to use the word received.
Another strategy I used to reinforce their vocabulary was to have them practice the words to each other. And while they were practicing, I walked around to make sure that they were pronouncing the words correctly. It helps the person who's not saying the word correctly and not gives them a non-pressured environment to say the word. And it also helps the kid who's helping them because they can then practice the word even more and help their peers. Another technique that I used was bringing in realia. I brought in real mail so the students could see the real mail and see who it was to and from and could see the sender and the receiver, and then transition that over to the email, which I showed them my email account so they could see who had sent and received the emails.
So this is email.
One of the benefits of realia is that kids can have a tangible thing to hold on to. So when I showed them the email account, they could actually see what it looked like, and they could actually hold the mail.
Right here, right?
Yeah.
And how do I know who it was to? Right here.
Her
Huh?
name.
Right here, right?
And then I also had the students physically hand off the mail and say, I'm sending this to, and who is receiving it.
Then I receive it
And who sent it?
and I send it.
You sent it.
The significance of giving the kids the name tags and labeling kids received and send an email, and then having the paper on the floor with the internet, was to show that the kids, when they send an email, they write it out, and then they give it to the email provider, and then the email provider takes it through the internet and gives it to the person who's receiving it. And the importance of physically doing it is the kids can see that it goes through the internet to the other person. With the handout, the kids don't have the language to read the handout themselves. So I have them read along with me. And the way I do that is I put the handout underneath the document camera, and I have the kids point to the words, and we point to the words together, and then we do a choral reading of the information.
Which part is best? Thank you for your help, Mr. Gray.
The importance of having them point along while I'm reading is so that they can see the words and hear the words as I'm saying them, and having them read out loud so that they can practice their language.
Gray. Go to Bell Park.
My advice to other teachers in adapting lessons for ESL students is to take the vocabulary words one at a time, give the kids some think time on processing those vocabulary words, bringing in the realia so they understand what the vocabulary words are about, and to have the kinesthetic learning in there.
We did a great job today. How do we send emails? On the computer.
All right, so that gives you a sense of what that lesson looks like in an ESL lower elementary classroom of first graders. And as you can see, there are certain strategies that the teacher used to help scaffold some of the items in the lesson. She spent extra time on vocabulary words. She brought in the realia and had students look at real mail. And so she tweaked it a little bit to make it her own. And, of course, the lesson plans hopefully give you ideas on how you can tweak it for your own students. So I'm hoping that you can see the connections to your own students and how your own students might react. Now, one thing to mention is that this teacher is a technology teacher, and so she was actually teaching the technology class, but this lesson could actually fit in a lot of different places. When you're talking about writing letters, you can fit it into sort of English language arts learning. You could, of course, fit it into technology. There's connections with library, and there's a lot of curriculum connections. So I think the goal for schools, for teachers and for schools, is to figure out, well, where does this fit for us? Some people put it really in the character development or health and wellness curriculum too. So that's another idea. All right, so we've looked at 2 lessons, and I actually want to jump to, I'm back at the scope and sequence here. I actually want to jump to the 3 to 5 lessons. So we're not going to be able to look at all of the lessons, but I'm just giving you a sampling so that you feel comfortable perhaps moving forward and teaching some of these lessons yourselves. The next lesson I'd like to look at is the key to key words. And this is in the, again, the grade 3 to 5 scope and sequence. It's one of the earlier lessons in the scope and sequence because it provides more foundational online searching skills, which you'll see in a moment. So I'm clicking into that lesson. Again, it's all laid out for you here. The essential question here is which keywords will give you the best search results? And so students are really learning about the importance of keywords in their of selecting precise keywords in their keyword searching and sort of really honing in on that particular skill. So one thing about this lesson, it's going to teach students about effective keywords and finding that good information based on an effective search. But it doesn't necessarily go into how to evaluate the information that they found, how to deeply evaluate it. So it's a really good launching point to then, in a research project, to then start with this and then go forth into a upper level information literacy lesson in which they're evaluating a website. So actually, again, with this lesson, we have a video of it being taught in the classroom, and I'd like to show you what that looks like. But basically, students are doing a lot of collaborative work to, again, really hone in on learning about keywords and which keywords are going to give the best search results. So right here, we have a professional development video of the lesson being taught. So let's click into that and watch this. And as we watch, I want you to keep in mind of how your own students might react to this lesson, and then but also how you can integrate it into perhaps a subject or a topic you're already learning about. So let's watch.
Today's lesson is going to be called The Key to Keywords. Okay. My name is Olga Ramos, and I teach at Amistad Dual Language School, found in Inwood, Washington Heights, Manhattan. Who can read the goal for me? Caitlin, loud voice.
Identifying keyword strategies that will give you the best search results.
Very good.
And the objective of this lesson is to have the kids become more aware of precise and alternative words that they can use in order to better their searching.
So let's just review some of the vocabulary. Sydney?
Keywords. Most important words related to a subject that you type into a search engine when looking for info.
Sound familiar?
Yes. Common Core standards for researching are all about searching and initiating research projects. So this is a good segue into doing that.
Precise, clear, and exact.
You want something to be precise, with precision, clear, and exact. Next, synonyms. Larissa.
Words with
Same or similar
meaning.
Very good.
I'm going to do kind of an opening activity, and we're going to kind of play what we would probably know as taboo.
I'm going to need 3 volunteers to come and help us with our activity.
So what they essentially are going to do is that they're going to practice their skills of describing and looking for alternate words and other precise descriptions in order to get their point across.
Try to describe it.
It's green and gray. It clips things together.
Do you want to call on someone?
Magic.
Correct. A stapler. Very good. Round of applause. Thank you. So now we're going to go a little faster.
You could use it on the computers. It'll help you a lot. It's used mostly on desktops. Lucas, a mouse? Yeah.
Correct. What were some of the things that you can notice that you guys just did during this game? Before you answer me, talk to each other.
I think because technically they're like describing it, but without saying it.
It was sort of weird because like people did different things.
What was that? Precise hint. Very good. Clear and exact.
The second activity is called fetch. I'm going to have them sit in pairs. They're going to be working with computers. They're literally going to go and fetch answers for searching activities. This helps because they're already starting to build their skill of synonyms and making precise selections of words and how that can affect their searching.
The questions are as follow. What foods are toxic to dogs? What types of dogs are the smartest? What jobs do dogs do for people? And what are some of the smallest and largest dog types? You like our theme, dogs? Right.
What they're essentially going to do in the first one is that they're only going to use one keyword. They have to tell us how many results were found on the page, and then they have to look at the first 3 results. They need to make an educated guess whether they think that they're going to find the answer to their question in those results.
Okay, begin.
One word in the search engine, that word will like give off lots and lots and lots of topics. Want to see that one? Yeah, sure.
The next one allows them to use 2 keywords.
and they repeat the same thing.
How many keywords did it take to find the answer? It took about 4.
Noticing that you have to what?
Be precise.
Be more precise, right? Very good. Keep going. By the time they get to the last selection, which is basically they need to use more keywords, they're bound to find their answer. You found some of the answers? Okay, there it goes. How was your experience?
First keyword search, we put poison to see what would come out. It was poison, but it wasn't like poison for dogs or anything that we were looking for.
We found one of the websites told us a little bit of what the jobs they do.
So using one keyword wasn't that great. But as you got more precise, and maybe some of you started using some synonyms, then all of a sudden you started getting some of the results that you wanted. So then next, that was kind of a segue to now doing this challenge. I called it the pair challenge. Go! I love how you're working together. You guys are brainstorming. You're picking each other's brains. That's great. 5 minutes. We have two pairs that are finished.
This one right here, this one.
Okay.
Golden retriever.
2 minutes.
The first activity helped a lot because we knew already how to be more precise and how to like find out better the information.
You have to be like more specific with the words that you pick. Because me and my partner put dogs, but it didn't help us with learning what size they were. So then we put, for the second one, dog sizes, and then it helped us more.
The takeaway is, I think, them seeing the connections on how these things that they're learning, these strategies, these skills, actually affect their real life. The fact that sometimes through the Common Sense curriculum, we're able to do those things, it's wonderful. What did we learn about our keywords? Emmanuel?
We learned that when we're going to use keyword, we have to be more specific.
Or what? What was that word that we learned today? Everyone. Precise. Precise. Let's go back to our goal screen. Who can read that for me very loudly? Crescendi.
Identifying keyword strategies that will give you the best search results.
Did we meet our goal? Yes, we did. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. Clap, clap. Woo! Woo!
Great. So this is one of our lessons that we developed with the Teaching Channel on teaching digital citizenship to meet the Common Core state standards. And if you want to see more of those, I would encourage you to go under the professional development page where they're all listed. So back to that lesson, you can see how students they're really focusing in on just the keyword selection part of the search process. But oftentimes we have students just Google it by asking a question into Google's search box, but without really getting the skills that they need for more advanced searching strategies that can lead them to the kinds of results that they need. We looked at 3 lessons in the elementary curriculum today, and just for the purposes of this training, that's enough to get started and to give you a sense of what's in a lesson. We walked through a lesson, we looked at the materials and preparation, some of the features of each lesson, and what you'll mainly be using to navigate the curriculum is the scope and sequence, which is here. So again, the scope and sequence is just a recommended scope and sequence, but you can definitely cherry pick lessons out of this to create your own. I also wanted to point out one more thing. So at the very, very bottom of our scope and sequence, there's a library of additional lessons which are part of the curriculum, but not part of the scope and sequence. So you can see that if you're a teacher in grades 3 to 5, that there are a lot of additional lessons, in particularly related to information literacy, that you might want to check out. One more note is about implementation. So I showed you the scope and sequence. There's a roadmap for rolling out the lessons, but where might you consider implementing this? And I'm guessing since you're here, you have an idea of where that might be. But in general, we're finding it can really be integrated into core curriculum, such as English language arts, social studies, even history, civic education. We're finding really great connections with those topic areas. But also, some teachers are using homeroom or an elective to teach about digital literacy and digital citizenship. Some are doing it in partnership with the technology leads and technology instructors. And others are doing it in health and wellness classes or even character education classes. So those are just some ideas. And then also, who is teaching this? I'm guessing since you're here, that might be you. But we've found some schools are doing team teaching, that they're coordinating the different units and dividing up the lessons. Or you may be the appointed teacher to teach about this topic. And if so, I hope that your school is supporting you. But if not, I really encourage you to connect with our networks on Common Sense. And a lot of that is within our school newsletter. And seek out a network beyond school so you can share ideas and come up with best practices and so forth. All right, we are about ready to conclude here, but I hope that you're walking away with some tools in your pocket and some understanding of some of the issues in the curriculum and some examples to see what some of the lessons look like, and so that you can take it and roll with it. So next, it's important if you want to receive your professional development certificate of training to complete the following survey. And I'll keep this up here so you can write down this URL or copy it and put it into your browser. But what you'll do is take the survey. It'll take about 5 minutes. And at the end of the survey, you'll be provided a link to the certificate of training, which you can then print and fill out. So please do copy this URL down to complete that survey as well. And then finally, for more information, if you have questions or comments, please do feel free to email us at schools@commonsense.org. We'd love to hear from you. Well, thanks again for attending the training today, and good luck in your ventures on teaching students digital citizenship.